If there's one NFT that always goes up and always looks good, it has to be an Alpha Pass NFT. Now, what I mean by an Alpha Pass NFT, it's an NFT that gets you access to an alpha group, which may have whitelist, it may have really good calls. And the idea with these groups is it's small, it's tight, and the people that are in there usually get more value than the cost of the pass, which then means that the pass then rises. Now, what I want to do is I want to break down some of the historical passes that have happened, where the prices have gone, and then look at some passes that are coming up. Because if you want to make money in the NFT game, why not make money with a pass, but then also make money with the pass? So let's just jump into it straight away. So first up, we've got my boy Kosher's plug pass. Now the floor is currently sitting at around that 2 ETH mark. Now if we have a look at the activity, you can see here you could have picked it up for around that kind of sort of 0.2 mark, and that's kind of where it was launched at. It launched at the 0.2 to 0.25 mark, and then it ran up, and then it ran up, and then it ran up, and it had these peaks out around these kind of 3 ETH mark, and then it's kind of like dipped down and sitting around that 2 ETH mark. So you're almost seeing a 10x on the plug pass NFT. Now my boy Amir, Dark Echelon, these minted at 0.09 ETH each, floor sitting at almost 6. Now you can see here that sitting quite flat, then all of a sudden once some traction has hit, it has just gone up, and it actually kind of tapped out at around that kind of 6 ETH mark, which it's kind of at now. So it's looking like we might break through a resistance, which is crazy. The fact is you could have minted this at 0.09 and you could have bought it sort of a month ago at around that sort of point, sort of under that half an ETH mark. So you could have made a big, huge game when it comes down to that alpha pass. Next up, my boy Dante. His floor is sitting at almost that 6 ETH mark. Now Dante's one has only just like recently released, and we can see here that it's kind of had some fluctuations up and down, but it's still sitting very high when you kind of see some of these peaks and troughs when it comes down to the alpha pass, which is crazy. Dante has been running this up. Then when we have a look at Pix Passport, this is Popeyes, and we can see here that this kind of minted at around that sort of 0.2, sort of 0.25 mark, kind of ran, now it ran up. It kind of peaked out at around that sort of the 1.1. I think it actually hit a 1.5 at some point, pulled back a little bit. So, but it's currently like sitting at least a kind of sort of 3 to 4x. Then we get Champs Pass. Now we're seeing at a floor price of 1.24, and there are a lot of owners in this one, but we can see here we've got the sort of floor price kind of on the first couple of days starting at that 0.3, and now we're kind of today we're sitting at that 1.2, but it did peak out close to that 2 mark. So we're seeing right there, from day one, you're seeing a sort of a decent return on that investment. Now, the reason that I wanted to show you these previous passes and where they've gone and performed is with these next passes that are coming out. I'm not saying that they will perform like this, but seeing what other passes have done may give you confidence in it, because what you're doing when you're buying into a pass is you're not necessarily just buying the whitelist sort of access, you're not just buying the calls or the access to the influencer themselves, you're almost buying stock in them. The reason that Dark Echelon bumped up is that Amir went absolutely crazy and hard on Twitter, and he blew up. Now he's sitting at 150k on Twitter. He's just going hard. Kosher, you could have gotten plug pass when Kosher wasn't really kosher. Now Kosher is kosher, hence you're going to ride that wave. The idea is you're almost buying stock in these people, and then when they kind of blow up, you've got stock in them, which you can then sell onwards. And it's crazy because you can then be making a return on the pass, by the calls, by the sort of spots, but then you're also kind of getting the return on the sort of flip as well. So it makes sense to also almost mint a couple, which is crazy. So the first that I want to touch on is Ash Robin. Now Ash is going hard on Twitter. He's made some crazy funny videos that are just going super viral at the moment. These types of videos here, which is great. And Ash has the Ash Pass coming out. So the Ash Pass is going to be crazy. He's currently doing a lot of kind of whitelisting, allow listing when it comes down to the Ash Pass. This is one of these passes that if you can get, it'll be a great hold and a great flip for a pass, but he's also going to provide amazing, crazy value. So that's one pass to kind of look out for when it comes down to passes that are popping up. Next up is a pass by a guy that's been in the space for a while, been in the crypto space, and now recently got over into NFTs. Now I'm talking about Wizard Pass. Now I recently did a giveaway on my Twitter, but Saj, he's got sort of 18k on Twitter, but when it comes down to his YouTube channel, he's got almost 90,000 subscribers on YouTube, and this is what he's been doing for a while when it comes down to sort of NFTs and just putting out quality content. He knows what he's doing, and you're almost buying access to what he's actually kind of putting out. And I've actually spoken to him about what his pass is going to entail, but it's almost like buying stock in Saj, and then from there kind of like riding his wave and his success with Wizard Pass. Now what he's actually doing with Wizard Pass, it's going to be heavy focused on tools, and he's trying to incorporate it and integrate it in a way where he's building it sort of not necessarily just in Discord, but he's building it so it can be integrated on his own website, which can then eventually go into like sort of a phone application, that kind of thing longer term, to then make it easier to reduce friction when it comes down to actually accessing tools. But then there'll also be the kind of whitelist giveaways that you get when you come down to sort of passes and things like that. Now, next up, I also want to touch on my boy Liam. So his Twitter handle is NFT Zerg, and he's got the Zerg pass coming out. Now it comes down to Liam, he's got almost 20k on Twitter, and then when you have a look at him on YouTube, he's got sort of 14,000 subscribers, and he's going hard on YouTube. And with his pass, he's going to be doing a run of around 400, and he still hasn't decided on the price yet, and he's a little bit away from that. So the idea is, if you kind of think that Liam is going to bust up and hit that 30 or 40k subs mark, if you think that on Twitter he's going to end up hitting 80, 90, 100k followers in sort of half a year's time, then the idea about buying into a pass like his is you're buying into his stock, and then you can kind of ride that up. Because I'm not saying that you will kind of, looking at the past results of passes, you'll kind of make a profit, but it's one of those things where it's very hard to ignore. When you look at something like Plug Pass, it's gone up. When you look at something like Dark Echelon, it's gone up. Look at Dante's one, gone up. Popeyes, gone up. Champs, gone up. All of these have gone up, and the longer they're in the game, the more that they go up. So I'm not saying that you need to just jump into these immediately. I'm saying that you need to kind of do your research. You need to make sure that it aligns with what you want. But from my experience in seeing these are almost a safe bet. Now, the flip side is the fact that there are lots of people doing passes. Passes keep coming out, and the fact that passes keep coming out means that it may actually dilute what a pass will actually get you, because there will be more on the market, because when there is more supply and there's not as much demand, then the prices come down. But saying that, the NFT space is sort of blowing up and expanding at an exponential rate, which means that with these passes coming out, I do believe that the supply is matching the demand for these. So this is taking in those passes. Now there are alpha groups that do kind of do a monthly sort of subscription, which isn't covered in this video, because it doesn't actually make sense to cover it, because they can't be tracked like the passes when it comes down to secondary sales. So this doesn't cover all of the alpha groups and passes, but this gives you an idea of what they have done historically, so you can then better make a decision when it comes down to what passes are coming up in the future. And if you actually want to get in, mint one, and then hold on to it, and then obviously kind of get value from the group itself, but then also maybe make a flip on the pass itself. So overall, that's my kind of rundown about a pass, and if you should actually get in on these alpha passes. If you found value in this video, please consider hitting up that subscribe button, and while you're down there, also hit up the like button. As always, it's been a pleasure having you with me. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Also, most people would have left by now. I'm not doing a pass. That may change in the future, but at the moment, I'm not doing a pass. So if you dropping a comment below going, hey, when's Nate pass? I'm not doing a Nate pass. It's not happening. I see other people that have very good systems in place. They've done very well when it comes down to passes, but it's one of those things where I don't believe that I can actually kind of fill a void in the market that can actually kind of do well when my boys right here are absolutely killing it and they know exactly what they're doing. And I would rather just buy into something like their pass to get the value they've got, because it doesn't make sense to just do a cookie cutter replication of it and just kind of extract liquidity from the market. That liquidity should go into projects itself and into people that I know can execute a better job than me.